Moving on to the second program, which prints or which determines odd numbers and even numbers between 1 and 10. What you need to do, you can create another separate program or separate project other than the one that you created in the previous method or previous program. So let's get started. But before we start writing the program, we need to also just understand to say the same logic that we used in the previous project is the same logic that we're going to use here. The logic to say when a number is divided by 2, the remainder will either be 0 or 1, and those which will have zeros as remainders will be called even numbers, and those which will have 1 as remainders will be called odd numbers. So what we need to do is to first declare an array which will be of int type and it will hold 10 integers. So we're going to say int, and the name of the array should be nums, okay, is equals to new int, and the size of the array should be 10. After declaring an array, we're going to have a for loop to initialize this array with 10 integers from 1 to 10. So we're going to say for int I is equals to 0, I should be less than 10, and I should be incremented each time the loop loops. And we are going to say each time the loop is looping, the indexes in the array should be initialized by the number I plus 1. So this is because we need to start counting from 1. Then after doing this, we're going to write a statement to prompt the user to say these numbers here are even numbers. So I'm just going to use the system.out, and this statement will say here odd even numbers, here even numbers. Then I'm going to have a for loop again, which is going to now check the numbers that are in the array and determine those which are even numbers and print them. We are going to say for int I, and I should be equal to 0, and I should be less than 10. Each time the loop is looping, I should be incremented. Then we should check the numbers when the loop is looping, whether when they are divided by 2, the remainder would be 0. If this is true, meaning we should print these numbers, system.out the print f, and these numbers coming from nums at index I. Okay, then after this we're going to have another statement prompting the user to say this is a set of odd numbers, and here it will say here are odd numbers, and we are going to have a for loop. So for int I is equals to 0, and I should be less than 10, I should be incremented each time the loop loops, and we're going to put a statement to check, an if statement to check whether the number is odd, right? So we're going to say if the number which is on I when divided by I forgot to mention one important thing here. So we're not just checking numbers on I here, we're checking for numbers which are found in the array on such an index, which is index I. Index I, remember, will be changing because each time the loop loops, it is incremented. So here, instead of having something like just I, it will be something like nums on index I, and also here instead of just having I, it will be nums at index I, as we've stated to say each time the loop loops, I will be incremented. So we check to say is the number at index I when divided by 2, is the remainder equal to 1? If it is equal to 1, then we should print this statement here, printing those numbers here. So we get to print those numbers just as we printed these numbers, which are even numbers here. So let's get to run this program and see the output when we run this program. Okay, as you can see, some formatting here needed, so just go back here, and after this statement here, we're going to just add some line break and run the program again. And as you can see here, here are even numbers, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and these are the even numbers that are in between 1 and 10 inclusive. And we have here are odd numbers. We have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. This is how you get to write a program which determines odd numbers and even numbers. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment.